Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode, if I am remembering correctly, 753 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday, October 3rd, 2025, and it is a very gray day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. I'm hoping everybody can hear me because we are at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge today, and I'm trying out a new mic. I've seen some hearts here on the screen, so I am guessing that means that you do hear me. And I'm seeing, look at that handsome beaver. Well, thank you, Kit Taffy-Chi. Oh, darn. I'm just gonna put that over there. It was a little chilly this morning when I was out on the balcony. Forgot to put my shirt away. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. I think I said that already. I'm a little discombobulated this morning. Let's see. I'm hearing that the mic is great. Perfect. Okay, because I'm testing out a new getup. Because when I broadcast from the Ottawa Beaver Lodge, sometimes it sounds a little tinny. And Mr. Grizzly got me this mic here that you see right here. And I've been trying it, but trying it today. But when I put the little thing inside the port for it to connect, I actually can't hear what comes out of the phone. So when the intro music was playing this morning, usually I'm jamming to it back here and dancing and all that kind of stuff. And couldn't do that today because I couldn't hear it. And if I go to the actual YouTube page where I'm looking at your chats here that I've got here on my little laptop right here under. We have a little bit of a delay that way. So, but okay, everything's working fine. Tech work today. Yay! All right. Already, we're doing better. It's a good day. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and Cubs, how is your mental health doing today? I am in good spirits, but I have to admit I am a little bummed out. I was showing leg, ankle and thigh, and even mid thigh yesterday because we were supposed to have a very big interview yesterday evening at 5, recording it, and I didn't want to say who it was because I didn't want to jinx it. And turns out that was a good idea because for some reason we do not know why yet. So I'm hoping that it isn't an emergency that is somewhat I won't say catastrophic, but critical. But our guest did not was not able to make our interview time, and their publicist who we were working through, we hadn't heard from them all day yesterday, and we still haven't heard from them today. So we're hoping that everything is all right with our guest, but for some reason, and we do not know why that is yet, it did not take place. So that was one of the things I had mentioned earlier when I was saying why I was only showing leg and not wanting to say, because I didn't want everybody to say, oh, yeah, yeah, sure, like you got that guest. And oh, yeah, of course they didn't show up. So, yeah, hopefully we will be able to reschedule, but yeah, I'm a little bummed because I was extremely excited for it, and of course, as you know me, sometimes I tend to over prepare. So I was ready, ready and raring to go, and we also had Mr. Grizzly lined up as well, so it was going to be hopefully. Hopefully, it was going to be something good. I can't guarantee it was going to be good, but hopefully it was going to be something good. But it did not happen. So I'm a little bummed. I have to admit, I'm actually more than a little bummed. I'm actually surprisingly chipper considering how bummed I am, which is really weird. But oh, Kitlinda, we would never say that. Aw, you all are lovely. Thank you, kits and cubs. Thank you, DAMFAM. But like I said, given that we didn't hear anything at all, and it's not like, oh, we're canceling or we don't want to do it anymore. Like I said, I like to first assume the best. So in that sense, I'm not going to assume, I'm going to assume that it's not us. It's something that happened at their end, and that there was some type of either last minute thing or, hope not, critical emergency. Our guest is a parent, so as well, could be just a family issue. Kid playing at the park falls off the monkey bars, breaks an arm, that type of thing. So we will wait, and we will hope we will hear from our guests and our publicist and figure out what went wrong, and hopefully be able to schedule another time for it. But right now, it's looking like a so close, but still so far. And I choose to be the resident optimist. So I am going to choose here to say that it's just something came up. Traffic, even could be, yeah, flat tire, couldn't get there on time. Who knows? But yeah, we will get some news, hopefully, over the next little while, and be able to reschedule and have that for you. But yeah, it's well, I'm sure everybody knows what it's like. Everybody's had an experience now and then of being very excited for something and preparing for it, and then for some reason it just doesn't happen. There's that sort of just like wah, 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 feeling to it. But that's okay. That's okay, because, like I said, right now I'm not going to fill in the blanks with whatever needs to be true to go through whatever narrative. Right? I know what I know. We had a time, it didn't happen, and that's all I know. And there's no point in trying to fill in the blanks with various things to figure out what could have happened. So you just place your faith in people and think that there must be a reasonable explanation, and you wait. Because if it is, if it happens to be some of the worst stuff, if it happens to be a critical emergency, um, you know, uh, fairly enough, somebody that you would have an interview with that you've never met and have no connection with wouldn't be necessarily your first thought or your first priority, right? For phone calls and stuff. So, fingers crossed that it's nothing terrible for our guest, and fingers crossed that everything will be able to be rescheduled, and that it's merely a speed bump for everyone involved, because that would be the best possible situation, because we certainly want the best for our guests. All right, kits and cubs, let's take a look into the magic monitor and see who we have with us on this fine Friday morning. All right. I'm seeing Miss Shadika being very happy to be first in the chat today, saying good Friday morning, you beautiful people. There you go. Kit Elaine is with us, saying thank God it's Friday and saying good morning, everyone. We have Kit Uncover here saying morning. We have Kit Tavi G with us as well. Going through. Sorry, I'm going to be looking down today. Normally, when I'm reading the monitor, you see me looking upward to the side. The monitor today is down, so and I've got this weird glow coming from the from the light. I'm noticing a little shadowed on this side here. But hey, we will call it art. It's an artistic choice. We have Kit Argosi Akers here saying good morning, Kit Swanky Frankie saying thank God it is Friday. Indeed. We have Kit Grace here saying good morning again. Kit Grace, don't worry about having a hard time finding it. As I said yesterday, that's me. Took a little longer to set up over here at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge, given that I'm using the phone to do this, and a very, very old laptop, that still works, but needs to be petted and coaxed now and then. And told that it is beautiful and that it does very good work and that it is capable. My laptop reacts to sweet talk, sweet, encouraging talk. So yeah, just like I said, sometimes when that happens, if I'm remote or I need to take a couple of minutes, extra minutes to make sure I have all the clips lined up and stuff like that, or just sometimes I wake up late. The timer, the time that the new show comes on is sometimes not there before 7. So if you just go to the main page of the YouTube page and keep on clicking refresh, at one point it will show up. So it's not you having a hard time finding it. Like I said yesterday, it's me having trouble getting it up. So, but thank you for your persistence. We have Kit Bucky here saying good morning all. Who else do we have with us? We have Kit Hyper T 007 here. We have Kit Mayhem. Hello. Nice to see you this morning. We have, let's see. Ooh, things moved very quickly on my thing and I lost Kit Mayhem. There we go. Kit Bucky, I'm not sure if I said hello already, but a good morning to you. We have Kit Kat with us as well. Good morning. And I'm just, Kit Cassie's with us. Hey, good morning. Good morning to you and the cowboy. I hope you are all doing very well. We have Kit Jenny here with us as well, saying good morning, everyone. Kit Nona Carol saying good morning. And still going down the list. Ooh, everybody is chatty today. I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. And I see Kit Moan here. Good morning to you, and good morning to Mateo, Rain, and Jazzy. Hope the whole family is doing well. And that is everyone I have here in the chat. So Kit Moan is the last person to slide across the plate this morning to get a greeting. And since Kits and Cubs, we are talking about sliding across the plate. I'm guessing that this might be a good time to mention that whether you have been a long time baseball fan or whether you are a bandwagon jumper, as am I, well, today is the day that you have been waiting for a certain amount of time, because I believe today is the day that our beloved Toronto Blue Jays take to the field, according to our sources here. The Toronto Blue Jays open up their postseason schedule tomorrow, not today. Sorry, I was wrong. Tomorrow. So it's baseball Christmas Eve, Kits and Cubs. You got to leave Santa Bichette a bottle of Gatorade and and some protein bars by the fireplace tonight. But yes, with the best record in the American League, the Blue Jays did enjoy a bye in the wild card round and advanced straight to the division series. Uh, and a good piece of news about this, Kits and Cubs, is that the seems that the Blue Jays will be giving away 500 free tickets to every Toronto Blue Jays postseason game, according to Nelson Anderson here. Seeing if there's an article. Yes, it is. Team owner Edward Rogers is stepping up for the postseason to help some of those fans who were shut out at the virtual windows. However, looking to reward random fans by giving 500 free tickets for each Jays home game throughout the MLB playoffs. Everyone can feel the buzz of the postseason baseball across Canada right now, said Terry Tweedle, Chief Brand and Communications Officer for Rogers. As proud owners of the Toronto Blue Jays, we want to give even more fans and customers a chance to experience the excitement firsthand. The idea is to take over an entire section for all the group fortunate enough to snag a ticket for home games in the Jays' first return to the playoffs since 2023. For the best of 5 American League Division Series, Rogers has given away 250 pairs of tickets to each game at a location in the Greater Toronto Area. A different location will be announced at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the morning of each game through @Rogers Instagram and Facebook. Let's see, what else does it say? Fans unable to travel to the location can follow and comment on the Instagram post by 10 a.m. Eastern Time for a chance to win one of 10 pairs of tickets for that day's game. Game 1 and 2 are Saturday and Sunday at the Rogers Centre. Game 5, if necessary, will be October 10th in Toronto. Rogers also is giving away tickets through Rogers Beyond the Seat, including a grand prize contest for each series that includes a pair of tickets with airfare and accommodations. And Blue Jays fans can go to rogers.com/Blue Jays to enter for a chance to win. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. Some excitement coming to the field. And of course, in my head, I still have the song. Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball. Boom. All right. Didn't warm up the voice this morning. Oh my, and I forgot to fill my cup. That was the last drop of beaver moistener. I might have to get up for a second during the show if my beaver gets a little dry. I have a little glass here next to it that has a little extra water, fortunately. I forgot to top up before starting the show. Naughty beaver. All right, Kits and Cubs. So yes, as we get ready for the boys of summer, as they say, to take to the field, we are going to talk about 2 subjects today, maybe a couple of other things if we have a chance to fit them in. But the 2 main things we want to talk about is take a little time to focus on Newfoundland and Labrador because there were municipal elections there yesterday. And there's of course, provincial election coming up as well. And we want to make sure that we take some time to look at both of those. So starting with the municipal election, not all places had it yesterday. I am seeing here in the news that for St. John's itself, I believe, the date has been pushed back to the 8th of October. And I'm just going to take a look here just to make sure. Now I'm on the other computer looking for this, so Kits and Cubs. It will be a little slower today for me to navigate from story to story, so I beg your indulgence here. But according to Alex Kennedy of CBC News, here. It says the City of St. John's has announced it will be moving its municipal election to October 6th as a postal disruption impacts the ability to vote by mail. The election had been originally set for Thursday, but the city announced on Monday that it will move the election back a week to safeguard voter access and uphold the integrity of the election. Quote, this disruption has required us to act quickly and carefully to ensure two things above all else: that every resident has the opportunity to exercise the right to vote, and that the integrity of the election is fully protected. Teresa Walsh, the city's clerk and chief returning officer, told reporters on Monday. Although workers of the Canada Post Workers Union Local 126 have been on strike since last week, a small group of people spent part of Monday working to retrieve vote-by-mail kits left in the postal system, according to a statement from the city. Mike McDonald, CUPW Local 126 president, said that it was a hard decision to make to head back to work temporarily, but workers ultimately wanted to respect the right to vote and the responsibility they have in helping exercise it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Quote, the use of mail-in ballots is an important thing, McDonald told CBC News. We wanted to make sure that the other people's charter rights and constitutional rights are not being trampled on the way that ours have been for the last 22 months. Very, very, very clever framing. Very clever framing. Doing a good deed and tying it to your job action as well. Taking the moral high ground. That's some very, very clever PR strategy, but it also happens to be the right thing to do. It's always wonderful when the right thing to do also happens to dovetail well and create a good PR strategy for you. That is the ultimate win-win in our business. The city said that around 16,000 ballots have been returned by mail or secure drop boxes so far, about half of what was returned in the previous general election, but it couldn't guarantee that all ballots in the mail system had been accounted for. Quote, some ballots are still in the postal system and will not be reaching us by Election Day, Walsh said. Moving the date of the election allows the city to secure additional resources to accommodate a higher in-person voting turnout. Walsh, I'm not sure why that sentence is written that way. There should be no Walsh there. So let's try that again. Moving the date of the election allows the city to secure additional resources to accommodate a higher in-person voting turnout, which will likely mean an additional 10 to 12 staff members and additional laptops and voting scanners. Additionally, the city will launch a ballot status lookup system in the coming days to verify if a ballot has been received. Residents can call 311 and 709-754-2489 or email access@stjohns.ca once the system goes live. I will repeat those numbers if you happen to be watching from Newfoundland or Labrador or have family and friends and loved ones there. So they can call 311 or 709-754-2489 or email access@stjohns.ca by October 7th. Not by October 7th. stjohns.ca. If a vote is confirmed to have not been received, residents can either vote in person at their designated voting center on Election Day or request a replacement ballot. Kits must be picked up by October 7th, the city said. We are making every effort to put in measures to ensure that everyone who wanted to vote gets an opportunity to vote, Walsh said. Well, she said, this is not ideal. The measures the city is putting in place will ensure voting is accessible. Quote, we're making the best of the circumstance, and I think in terms of all of that, the election will go smoothly. Walsh said that there's no risk for duplicate ballots to be counted, as ballots that aren't confirmed received will be invalidated before a replacement voting kit is issued. The city of St. John's has used the vote-by-mail system since 2001. Historically, Walsh said about 90% of ballots counted in elections are returned by mail. Walsh said the postal disruption does highlight the need for alternative measures to be in place, something she says council recommended exploring with the provincial government in February. The strike is also happening during a provincial election scheduled for October 14th. McDonald said discussions haven't happened around potentially helping recover mail-in ballots for that election, but is open to talking to the government. So that's for St. John's specifically here on the Rock. But for the most part, it seems that there are results that play in other cities and towns. Things went well. Unfortunately, whoops, sorry. I thought it was going to be an article on the roundup of municipal election results from across Newfoundland and Labrador, but it is a video instead, and I am not at um, the regular Beaver Lodge with the video hookup to show that to you. So what I am going to do, hopefully, is be able to play it here at this end with captions on, and therefore I might be able to get the information for you and relay it. But this would be from the CBC. But so the results for the rest of Newfoundland and Labrador are in, except for St. John's, of course. With the Northeast Avalon, residents of Paradise have elected their new mayor and its former leader, Dan Bobbitt takes leave of provincial politics to become the area's next minister, MHA. I'm gonna guess that is the provincial representative and member of the House Assembly. I would assume it's called in Newfoundland and Labrador. And so there is a new mayor there, and that person is Patrick Martin, who has been selected as the mayor-elect of Paradise. And it seems that it was a tight race, according to CBC. The victor says that it was very stressful. He says to watch the numbers go up and down. Paradise is surrounded by two other municipalities whose mayors have been acclaimed. So in Conception Bay, South Mayor Darren Bent is heading into another 4 years of leading the province's second largest municipality, and Mount Pearl Mayor Dave Acker will do the same with the province's third largest municipality. Nearby, hold on. Sorry. There we go. Nearby in Portugal Cove, St. Philip's residents have elected a new mayor. Mayor Bartlett says he plans on bringing back decorum on council, which he will get a head start on addressing in the coming weeks. He is quoted here, and Mr. Bartlett's first name is Dave. So just don't want to say Mayor Bartlett, but Mr. Dave Bartlett is the mayor of Portugal Cove. He says, "Do you think that this town put their trust in me? This is my fourth election. It's my first one as mayor. So I am grateful to everybody in this town for doing this." And when he's asked what it is that he wants to do first, he answers, "First of all, I want to bring back respect and decorum, and we have a wonderful bunch of councillors now elected, and I'm sure we can do great things." Both Mayor Martin of Paradise and Mayor Bartlett of Portugal Cove, St. Philip's, will be sworn in the next couple of weeks, while residents of St. John's will head to the polls, as we mentioned, on October 8th. And that is, of course, from CBC. Sorry. I'm having a little difficulty here doing this at the same time. This is usually not how I do things. In Mount Pearl, I can't really actually figure out what went wrong based on this thing. All right, you know what? This is not working particularly well. So let's try another route. Here we go. Regan Burden from CBC News. There we go. This is better. The polls have closed to municipalities taking part in the general municipal election. Many municipalities in Labrador are seeing some big changes. Here's who has been voted in and acclaimed to represent the community members for the next 4 years. In Labrador City, Mayor Jordan Brown and councillors Julianne Manston, Matthew White, Riley Farrell, Jonathan Riviere, Kim Harty, and Ryan Pike have been elected. Making the switch from provincial to municipal politics, former NDP member of House Assembly Jordan Brown will be the next mayor of Labrador City. Brown says he's happy that the relationships he's built with his community that last 6 years translated into him being able to serve them as mayor. Quote, "This is my hometown. I love this place and I love the people here, and I'm glad that they're showing me some confidence to go and do this for them, and I hope I represent them to the best of my availability," Brown told CBC News on election night. Brown says his priorities will be housing and getting power to the community to ensure Labrador City has the ability to grow. In Happy Valley Goose Bay, the mayor is Bert Pomeroy, and elected to council are Jackie Compton-Hobbs, Lori Dyson, Jill Williams, Todd Winters, Denise Rumbold, and Dion Odell. That's a really cool name, actually. Happy Valley Goose Bay live streamed their election results coming in on an Excel spreadsheet on their Facebook page, and Mayor-elect Bert Pomeroy says that he was, quote, like a cat on a hot tin roof in a rainstorm. Quote, I'm very honored and humbled that I've earned the trust of residents, and I'm ready to get down to work. I mean, tonight we celebrate, and I mean, tomorrow the real work begins, said Pomeroy. In Wabush, the mayor is Gertie Canning, and Jamie Shea, Vanessa Temple, Kelly Pafford, Rita Pinn, Debbie Hawes, and Laura Brown have been elected to council. Wabush Mayor Gertie Canning ran uncontested and was acclaimed into her seat. In Forteau, elected to council are Aaron Hancock, Dean Flynn, Jeffrey Hancock, Marty Hancock, Tiffany Piercy, Robert Hancock, and Terry Hancock. That's a lot of Hancocks. The Forteau mayor will be chosen at the next council meeting. In Lansoulou, Dexter Linstead, Mary O'Brien, Jordan Barney, Stanley Linstead, Deborah Barney, Trent O'Brien, and Lauren Oates have been elected. The mayor of Lansoulou will be chosen at a later date. Incumbent councillor Laura Oates tied with the incumbent deputy mayor Tyrone Normore. The returning officer put both of their names in a bag, and Oates was drawn for the tiebreaker. So we had a tiebreaker where we had to draw lots. In West St. Modeste, Agnes Pike, Mary Marshall, Walter Bolger, Barbara Tracy, and Marius Pike were selected. And West St. Modeste only elects 5 councillors, and the town's mayor will be determined at a later date. In Cartwright, Sonia Dyson, Priscilla Clark, Madison Dyson, Sandra Mugford, and Sean Howell were elected, and the community of Cartwright only elects 5 councillors. The mayor will be decided at the first town council meeting. In Port Hope Simpson, Sarah Williams, Trent Parr, Charlene Penny, Gina Sampson Russell, Edward Strugnell, Frederick George Morris, and Edward Skinner were elected, and Port Hope Simpson's mayor will be decided at a later date as well. Many towns in Labrador had acclaimed councils. 6 towns that took part in the municipal elections had acclaimed councils. Charlottetown in southern Labrador missed the deadline for the nomination notice and will take part in a special election once the date is posted. In Northwest River, Melanie Blake, Robin Goodfellow Blake, Bakey, Joanne Hibbs, Evan Hillier, Jane McGillivray, Darwin McGee, and Jeffrey Montague were elected. In Pinware, Curtis Butt, Joanne Dory, Carl Odell, and Carrie Odell, and Elaine Pike were elected. In Mary's Harbor, Matthew Brown, Alton Rumbold, Amelia Rumbold, Darren Rumbold, Harold Rumbold, Lana Rumbold, and Larry Rumbold were all elected. In Wren Bay, Juanita Stone, Robert Stone, Eric Paul, Sheena Fowler, and Farron Yetman were elected. In St. Louis, Helen Poole, Bradley Curl Sr., Jody Jenkins, Cassandra Curl, and Amanda Chubbs were elected. And in L'Anse Eau Claire, Sheila Chubbs, Sandra Thomas, Patricia Jones, and Philip Chubbs were elected. Only 4 councillors were acclaimed to L'Anse Eau Claire Town Council. Only 4 councillors were acclaimed to L'Anse Eau Claire Town Council. They will host a by-election for the remaining seats at a later date. So that gives a little bit of an idea of some results over there. Let's see, what else do we have here by Reagan Burden? There's another article here. No, that's the one I just read, which is really interesting. They're both linked back to the same place. Very interesting. They were listed as 2 different articles here. But no, that's not what happened here. All right, let's see what else we have here for you. So Paradise's new mayor, who we talked about, Patrick Martin, according to Juanita Mercer, says that let's see, what else does it say here? He takes over from Dan Bobbitt, who led the town for 12 years, but stepped away from municipal politics to run as a Liberal candidate in the provincial election, as we mentioned. As Martin takes on the top job, he said that some of the issues he wants to address are traffic, congestion, water pressure concerns in the Elizabeth Park subdivision, and illegal ATV use on town roads. He was a town councillor for 12 years before seeking the mayor's seat. He's also a truck driver and an advocate for children with autism. Martin said he will remain accessible, present, and honest as the town's new mayor, qualities he said he demonstrated throughout his tenure on council. Quote, "I'm here for the people," Martin said. "As the mayor, I will be no different than I was as the town councillor for the last 12 years. I'll be accessible and I'll be here." Martin said the main concern he heard from residents while he was campaigning was traffic congestion, particularly in the Topsail Road area. It's the primary route in and out of the community, and it's connected to two provincial interchanges that cause significant delays during rush hour. While he was campaigning, Martin said the town needed a strong advocate who would work with the province to upgrade its interchanges and roadways. In nearby Portugal Cove St. Philip's, a town of just over 8,400 people, residents also elected a new mayor on Thursday. Long-term councillor Dave Bartlett will take over the top job from Carol McDonald, who chose not to run in the election. Bartlett was up against two other candidates, former Deputy Mayor Madonna Stewart-Sharp and Johnny Hanlon, who also vied for mayor in 2021 but lost to McDonald. On a town council that's been rocked by infighting, Bartlett says he intends to lead by bringing respect and decorum to the council. So that's why there was a focus on that on his campaign. That council will be rounded up by 6 councillors: Kim Churchill, Keith Culleton, Aaron Gallant, Wendy Squires-Ennis, Robert Stapleton, and Gavin Will. Everyone except Will and Bartlett are new to council. In the province's second largest municipality, Conception Bay South, no one ran against Mayor Darren Bent, so he was acclaimed. Ditto for the province's fourth largest municipality, Mount Pearl, where Mayor Dave Acker was acclaimed. On Bell Island, the mayor of Wabana, Philip Tobin, was also acclaimed. And in Petty Harbour, Maddox Cove, no one voted at all because the entire town council was acclaimed. No one voted in St. John's either. That election was rescheduled to October 8th, as we mentioned, due to the postal workers' strike. Meanwhile, in Torbay, Craig Scott was re-elected as mayor, a position he's held for 8 years. He received 1,056 votes, while mayoral candidates Trina Appleby and Mary Thorne Goose received 663 and 783 votes, respectively. So there you go. That was the roundup article I was looking for, but it was masquerading as an interview with the mayor of one town. Ha ha! But persistence pays off. All right. So that's pretty much what we have here with regard to the municipal elections, because, of course, the one in the big city has been delayed. So we'll be able to get back to Newfoundland and Labrador and see what they have in about a week's time, or a little less than that, for the biggest city on the rock. Now, with the provincial election, a couple of things going on here. The first thing is that there hadn't been much polling in Newfoundland and Labrador for the longest time. I think it had been easily about a year, possibly even more, since the most recent one. And there was even some question. I was listening to the numbers with J.P. Fournier and Eric Grenier, the pollster, who is often on CBC. And they were wondering, I mean, they're in, right? This is their thing, numbers. And even they were wondering whether or not there was going to be any polling whatsoever from Newfoundland and Labrador during this election itself. And it seems that there is one that indeed did come out recently, and it is very good for the governing Liberals. We had a sense that the governing Liberals might be in a good position based on provincial premier approval numbers that are put out by Angus Reid. They usually do that once a month. And going into the election, it was showing that interim premier John Hogan had a net approval of plus 23, which is some pretty good numbers to go into an election with. Yes, it had been over a year. Narrative Research had done the last poll in Newfoundland and Labrador, dated August 13th, 2024. there's one here that says August 19th, 2025, and Narrative Research put that one out, and that one said Liberals 59, PCs 31, NDP 9, and so that's a 28-point lead for the Liberals based on that one, which would probably be indicative of, I would say, a majority win, although they don't have a graph on how it translates to seat count, unfortunately, here on 338.com. However, I believe there might have been another one a little more recently, because I did see it on the Polling Canada page um, on Twitter. Losing my words today. The words are not coming to me as quickly as they usually are, kids and cubs today. And according to that one, also, it was looking very good for the provincial Liberals. And I am trying to bring it up as I'm talking to you here on the trusty laptop below. But it is being a little slow and temperamental to allow me to do this in a smooth manner, unfortunately. Hey, as we say in French, on fait ce qu'on peut. We do what we can over here. But yes, more recent polling, I would say, coming out over the last few days, indicates, would seem to substantiate or confirm those numbers by narrative that were released in August. I actually wasn't aware that poll had been done in August. That was a surprise to me, because I thought that the one I was talking to you about specifically was indeed the first one that had come out since last year. But it seems that there may have been a second one and was maybe missed here. But this is, nope, it is narrative indeed. But this one has a different date for it for some reason. It says August 29th, but showing the Liberals at 59, the Conservatives at 31, and the NDP as 9, which is the same thing. So there you go. The margin of error on that one is 5.2%, but it is looking very good for Premier Hogan in Newfoundland and Labrador at the moment in terms of retaining. And that's good for us as progressives in Canada as well, because, constitutionally, 7 provinces with 50% of the population, that creates winning conditions for changes to the Constitution. And the big fear of the last previous election, which didn't get really mentioned all that much, was that having a Pierre Poilievre prime minister, and then before Manitoba flipped, there were 7 provinces in Canada that were being run by ideological conservative governments, including Ontario and Quebec, which then makes the 7 provinces with 50% of the population rule very, very, very easy to reach, and then could make the current conservative movement, as it is right now, that seems to want to invent new laws and take away rights, give them a lot of power to be able to do so, which was one of the reasons why we had so much focus last year on the provincial elections in British Columbia, hoping that it would stay in the NDP column in Alberta, hoping that it would have flipped to the NDP column to give us an extra buffer, and the ones in Ontario, Nova Scotia as well, those ones had very little chance of flipping, given that the polls were indicating that the leaders would come back with majorities. But and then there was Saskatchewan we were looking at as well. But the main ones we were looking at, of course, were New Brunswick and Manitoba, because we were hoping for some flips there to get us back to us, give us a little breathing room in case Pierre won the federal election, to not give him that much power. So Newfoundland and Labrador is one of the few ones that are actually in our column, given that they have a Liberal government, and hoping to keep that one in our column because we have a minority parliament and an election could happen at any time. So therefore, these numbers give us a little bit of breathing room here in terms of what's the worst that could happen. All right. So with the provincial election, a couple of things happening. It seems to be a relative quiet election in terms of issues. There hasn't been that much drama. Like I said, the end result seems to be a little bit of a foregone conclusion. One of the main topics, of course, will probably be the energy deal and project that is going up there in Gull Bay and everywhere else, Churchill Falls. And of course, as we mentioned on the show, the current interim premier, who happens to have a legal background and has worked on this file when he was not the interim leader, thinks that he is the perfect person out of the candidates for leadership to be able to bring this process over the finish line, particularly given his background. But that hasn't stopped endorsements to go from being delivered, and one that's really important enough has gone to not the leader in the race. According to Alex Kennedy, a large umbrella organization that represents more than 14,000 trades workers across Newfoundland and Labrador is putting its weight behind PC leader Tony Wakeham in his bid to become the province's next premier. Trades Newfoundland and Labrador made the announcement on Thursday, saying other party leaders aren't stepping up to support local construction. Quote, "For the months and years leading up to the provincial election 2025, we have positioned and advocated for construction work associated with our natural resources to be done right here in Newfoundland and Labrador," Executive Director Bob Fiander told reporters. Quote, "The PC party showed no hesitation in coming out and getting on board with regards to doing work in this province. We haven't heard tell of the Liberal government at all." Trades Newfoundland and Labrador represents 14 construction unions across 50 trades. Fiander, or is that Philander? No, Fiander said his group has been pushing to advance opportunities for workers and their families and believes Wakeham can provide that. Quote, "It is support that we have had to work on to earn, and I want you to know that we will work just as hard to keep it," Wakeham said. "I want to make it clear that we will lead a pro-jobs government, and I reject anybody who says that Newfoundland and Labrador's days of building big things are behind us." The Progressive Conservatives put forward a series of construction and industry-related promises during their campaign. The party has committed to a $2,000 rotational worker tax credit, a promise to introduce a requirement that any public infrastructure project over $500,000 must include at least 10% apprentices, and a promise that apprentices will immediately get their logbooks following the completion of primary training. Wakeham also committed to building 4 new ferries for the province and said over the campaign that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians should return to building their own industries. Fiander said Trades Newfoundland and Labrador is also heavily focused on the Bay du Nord project, which has been postponed by Equinor since 2023, and making sure Newfoundland and Labrador is the leader in its construction. The organization has asked the next government to ensure that at least 70% of topside work for the project is done within the province. Equinor has already chosen a preferred bidder for the project's construction should it go ahead, Norway-based BW Offshore. Quote, "If Equinor wants to make money from our province's resources, they should be prepared to do work in our province and with our province's unionized workers," Wakeham said. "If our workers aren't working, why are we developing our resources? It's that simple." Fiander says he wants Trades Newfoundland and Labrador workers to be the primary beneficiary on construction of the Churchill Falls and Gull Island projects. Hydro-Québec would be the project lead for Gull Island development and manage its construction under the current Memorandum of Understanding. Quote, "Show us that that project is good for Newfoundland and Labrador, and we're there," Fiander said. So there we go. Some interesting promises from the Progressive Conservatives there. And again, see a trend that seems to be manifesting itself throughout the country, where conservative parties are trying to get close to more blue-collar unions, but not necessarily professional unions, like teachers and nurses and other public servants and that type of stuff, as we keep on seeing in various provinces. Lots of attacks against them from their various conservative governments, but not so much the trade workers or blue-collar workers. Conservatives seem to be really in on that. Saw an interview yesterday with the latest entrant into the NDP federal leadership race, and we'll be talking about that on another show. But Mr. John Ashton, who comes from the trade sector, and was making it very clear that for some reason the Conservatives have been better recently at using traditional NDP talk when it comes to workers in order to bring the workers to their side, because the NDP seem to have been prioritizing other issues over the past few election cycles rather than its traditional base and being the Workers' Party. And he would like to bring it there. So in this instance here, we're seeing in Newfoundland and Labrador the conservative strategy that we've seen in Ontario, that we've seen Pierre try to do federally, working as well for the Conservatives. So the NDP needs to get back in the game there. And it doesn't seem only federally that they are losing ground with workers. For their part, according to Daryl Roberts of CBC, the Liberals promise speedier commutes for Paradise and beyond with construction of new interchange. So we have the mayor talking about that, as we just read, and it seems that given municipal elections were going to happen, that the Liberal leader made his announcement with regard to that coincide with the municipal elections. Good PR move in terms of timing to get the maximum buck for your message. So that was a smart move. But here it says, Liberal leader John Hogan made his way back to the Avalon Peninsula on Thursday with a campaign promise that has been a hot-button issue for some residents in the Northeast. Hogan is promising to ease traffic headaches in Paradise, a fast-growing community with over 21,000 people. That promise is a bid to end a decade of PC election victories in the district of Topsail Paradise. On Thursday, he announced a new interchange connecting the Outer Ring Road portion of the Trans-Canada Highway to roads in Paradise and Portugal Cove St. Phillips would be a very top priority for a re-elected Liberal government's infrastructure plans. Quote, by helping run traffic smoothly in these communities, it in turn helps residents of Conception Bay East and beyond, Hogan said in a speech at a business located near the proposed site for the new interchange. Hogan said the new interchange would connect the Trans-Canada Highway with Trails and Drive, a residential road in Paradise, and St. Thomas Line, which connects Paradise with Portugal Cove St. Phillips. He said the cost of the new interchange is expected to be in the range of $10 to $12 million, similar to the recently completed Galway interchange on the outskirts of St. John's. For years, the town of Paradise has been trying to curb traffic issues in the Topsail Road area through projects like a roundabout and a traffic study. Both candidates in the mayoral election cited traffic as their top issue. Traffic congestion on Topsail Road became a safety issue in August when a portion of Paradise was ordered to evacuate due to the wildfire near Paddy's Pond. Traffic became so backed up during the evacuation that the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary issued a statement asking motorists to avoid the area. Ooh, yeah, that is not a good situation. I can see why that became a very huge election issue here. The Liberal candidate for Topsail Paradise, Dan Bobbitt, said a new interchange would be a game changer. Quote, this entire region will benefit from these road connections. It'll move traffic to the entire region, he said. The Liberals are banking on Bobbitt, who spent 12 years as the mayor of Paradise and 2 decades on town council, to bring a decade-long trend of victories for the Progressive Conservatives in the district. To break a decade-long trend of victories for the Progressive Conservatives in the district. Bobbitt is running against NDP candidate Tyler Bourne and PC incumbent Paul Dinn. Just 2 days ago, Dinn made a Facebook post promising that a PC government would create another access to Paradise, though he didn't include details on location or cost. Hogan also promised $2 million to support integrated public transportation on the Northeast Avalon. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians have a little bit of work to do to get into the public transportation, he said. Quote, Mount Pearl, CBS, Paradise, St. John's really all run into each other. So I think that we need to work with our various communities to come up with a plan to provide more public transportation into and out of our communities. And for those who are wondering, CBS, I'm going to guess that's Conception Bay South here. Earlier this year, several other communities on the Northeast Avalon, Torbay, I'm thinking Boline, I apologize if I mispronounced that. I've never been to that town, and I've never heard of it until now. So I'm actually not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. So if I mispronounced it, send me a gentle correction, please. But Torbay, Boline, Flat Rock, Bell Island, Pouch Cove, Portugal Cove, St. Phillips, and Loggy Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove created a feasibility study to look into creating their own public transit system. Interesting. I would guess, yeah, creating a public transit system and that type of area would be a little interesting, because you don't necessarily need big buses, but maybe some smaller vans, or a sort of Uber type system that would be run by various municipalities together, that would be on at certain times, would allow for some type of public transportation system. One would have to be a little creative, but yeah, why not? Why not? It brings communities together. It allows friends and family who are there greater access to each other. It allows greater access to employment. Makes it easier to get to certain institutions like hospitals and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a great idea when several smaller municipalities get together and try to find creative ways to create some type of public transit system among them. I think that's a very, very good initiative here. And then a little bit more, a tiny little bit of drama in the race here, according to Patrick Butler and Ryan Cook, also of CBC. The NDP candidate in Labrador West is accusing the Liberal Party of, quote, blackmail and of turning the district's energy needs into a political football. Liberal leader John Hogan kicked off his campaign last month with a promise to build a third transmission line between Churchill Falls and Wabush, a long-discussed project bringing new power to an electricity-starved, heavily industrialized area. The project, paid for by the region's mining companies, could finally get off the ground if the Churchill Falls Memorandum of Understanding with Quebec is finalized, as promised by the Liberals. The draft agreement promises new hydroelectricity plants on the Churchill River, a portion of whose production would be reserved for Labrador, eventually tripling the electricity available to the region. Quote, right now, the lines that are coming into Labrador West are tapped out, said Liberal candidate Todd Seawood in an interview with Radio-Canada. There's no more transmission room available, so this memorandum of understanding doesn't transpire into an agreement. We won't have any more power. We won't be able to expand. But NDP candidate Shazia Ratzi says the Liberals don't have a monopoly on the issue and that her party is also in favor of the third line and bringing new power for the region, albeit after an independent assessment of the Memorandum of Understanding. Quote, it's blackmail, I'll say it. What the Liberal Party is doing is blackmailing the Labradorians, saying that if you do not vote for us, you will not get the third line, which is not true, she said. The inability to expand has drastic implications for the futures of mining companies, as well as any large-scale residential development in a region struggling with a shortage of housing. Quote, the third line is extremely important, but making that an election issue is so infuriating, Razzie said. I mean, when Premier Hogan comes in and says that you're going to get your 40 units of senior housing, new buildings, and this and that, when the third line goes ahead, everything is contingent on the third line. While the Liberals would move forward with the MOU and the NDP would subject it to independent scrutiny, the Progressive Conservatives have been outspoken about it being a bad deal for the province and said that a PC government would seek to improve it. PC leader Tony Wakeham has promised to put it to a public referendum if he forms government. For his part, PC candidate Joe Power says he's not hearing about the MOU much at the doors. Quote, I'm going to say I hear it at 1 out of every 20 doors. That's about it, he said. Powers said voters seem to care more about healthcare, travel costs, and overall affordability issues. Responding to comments by Razzie and Wakeham, Liberal candidate Todd Seaward said he just wants to see the MOU and third transmission line go ahead. Quote, this MOU for us is game-changing. Labrador West finally wins the jackpot, so the Conservatives are saying press pause. For Labrador West, you're pausing our expansion and our ability to grow, he said. So going door to door, I'm hearing people say, no, Labrador West does not want to pause. So there you go, kids and cubs. A couple of stories about what's going on in Newfoundland and Labrador, not only the municipal elections. Remember, if you are in St. John's, voting is October 8th. So please, again, plan your vote and make sure that you do not let friends do democracy alone. But three important stories going on from the provincial election. What's going on now gives you a little taste of what the issues are. And of course, the voting day here for the provincial election is October 14th. So we will keep on looking at that and checking in with that. And now I haven't looked at the chat screen for a little while, so I'm just going to check in there because I've been talking a lot, and ask you, kits and cubs, once again, if you will give me a mic sound thumbs up that the battery is still working, because I do not know how long the battery lasts. But yeah, let's take a look at the chat and see what it is that you are saying, kids and cubs, if there's anything about what's going on here. Just looking. Some people enjoying a shake and bake. Wake and bake is the term from what I'm seeing here in the chat, which is perfectly fine. I do not disapprove. Let's see how we got here. Nope. Oh, Kit Saucy here says Paradise basically has one big road in the middle called Topsail Road, pronounced Topsail. So there we go. Gentle correction on myself. I've been saying topsail and it's topsail. So thank you for that. I will try to put that in the memory bank and remember it for the future. I'm seeing here, topsail, not topsail. They get so mad over that one. I am so sorry. I apologize. I plead ignorance. I did not know any better. Kid Sassy says, I remember driving on that road 12 years ago and it was intense. No one follows lines. The potholes were ginormous. Lights every 100 feet. Oh my. Okay. It's one big road into St. John's and it's chaos. Okay. Pauline is Boline. So again, I apologize, but now I know. And Logie, and I had no idea how to pronounce that because it was spelled Logy, is Logie, I'm guessing, or Logie. I'm not sure if it's a soft or hard G there, but thank you, Saucy. And he goes, saying, this makes me want to go back and visit. I've had the fortune only once with Canada 150 to go to Newfoundland and Labrador. Spent 4 beautiful days in St. John's and about 5 in the Bonavista area, and kicked myself the entire time for never having gone sooner. Basically, it was gorgeous. Now we got uncharacteristically good weather. It was sunshine all 9 days we were there. And on the last day we were there, just as we were leaving, there was a little bit of drizzle. And I really loved it. I thought, I love it here. The weather's great. Everybody's looking at me, don't get used to it. So it seems that we were there at a particularly good time here. Donna Monroe says, Outer Cove made me smile. My saying for a random Newfoundland town was Inner Outer Cove, and for a random prairie town was Lower Left Hill. Yes, indeed. Okay. And Saucy says, St. John's has a beautiful park with a butterfly enclosure that opens in the summer. Oh, we missed that when we were there. Oh, we would have loved to see that. My beaver sweetie loves gardens, and I'm a particular big fan of butterflies. So there we go. Okay, well, thank you so much, Kits and Cubs, for giving me some tips there. So Boline, Logie, and Topsail in the memory bank. There you go. Hopefully they'll stay there, because I have a feeling we'll be talking about Newfoundland and Labrador a little bit more over the next couple of days. All right, Kits and Cubs. Also in the news, as you know, the federal government, how did that came out weird? The federal government has a big plan that it ran on to diversify and reorient and improve the Canadian economy to make it more responsive and more resilient, considering that which is going on in the United States. And so far, the Prime Minister has announced two major federal coordinating agencies to bring that about. The first one, of course, was the Major Projects Office, as you know, that is associated with Bill C-5, and that has Kits and Cubs. That's taking part of the portion of his plan, one of the portions of his plan that has to do with being able to get whatever it is that we produce out to different markets. So ports, rail, that type of stuff, and of course the project itself that would generate the products that we would ship through those various infrastructure. But there's that part of it, and to attract investment and create jobs and, well, actually create careers, as the Prime Minister is saying, not just jobs in various industries, and help us reorient our manufacturing. So, for example, more modular housing, not only for us, but also for export, greener processes. So, for example, zero emissions copper mines, which then gives us a trade advantage. Even the $500 million in loans for Algoma Steel, as we were talking about yesterday, moving from their coke plants to electricity plants, which again changes the footprint of that which is being produced there, as well as producing different products. They'll probably be producing less coil, as mentioned, but maybe more of the sheets that they were talking about, and maybe introduce a different type of product there that will serve better our purposes. So that was the first one. We had the Major Projects Office, and that one is on the way. We've had the first 5 projects announced, for which there has been some criticism as saying, well, these were projects that were already way underway. And yes, that is true to a certain extent, but everybody involved in this is kind of saying yes, but there were still like 1 or 2 hurdles, either a financial hurdle or a regulatory hurdle that they need to overcome in order to be able to get to where they want to be, and that this process was going to help them over that. And of course, I'm not sure why one would expect someone who's a central banker to not. He's basically what's called laddering projects. So for anybody who's ever bought bonds, for example, as a matter of investing, or GICs, people will often use a laddering strategy. So they won't take all their money and just buy GICs in one time, but they'll buy some, with the coupon rate expiring in various years, and they'll buy some longer term products and shorter term products, and as the rates change, to take advantage of rates, right? And so, yeah, in this case, these projects are being laddered as well. Things that are, are nearly shovel ready right away, that just need a little push. And this is going to happen with, as we saw in that second tier projects, things that are not exactly shovel ready yet, but pretty darn near. And maybe down the road, there'll be a third list of bigger projects that have a longer time horizon, more than 2-year time horizon or something of the sort, that you're giving a look to, which makes it curious for me to figure out how Danielle Smith thinks that she, as herself becoming the proponent, because she's not able to find one, is going to be able to bring concepts of illusions of a plan and of a proponent to the Major Projects Office to get it on a list, get a pipeline on the list for this November, when the concession to her was putting the Pathways project on the list of the second tier projects. I do not foresee a reality between now, which is October 3rd, and the Grey Cup, that Danielle Smith has a route, has enough consultation done with Indigenous communities, and has a proponent with actual money willing to put behind that pipeline in her pocket to go to the major projects office and saying, here, I have all the components, put me on the list. I just the Indigenous consultation portion alone cannot be done in that 1 month. So I do not know what reality she's living in, thinking that she is going to, because she decided that she is going to be the proponent because she has not been able to find one. This, of course, awarding herself a little nifty $14 million in play money to make that happen. Interesting. Wondering what that $14 million is going to be used for. But yeah, and having three companies acting as advisors that she's trying to spin in the media as that signifying that there's a proponent underway, which is like not true. There was some interviews yesterday with the leader of Enbridge that seemed to be going very well. I saw one on Power and Politics with him, or on CTV, I think, that was going very well until he got to the last 2 or 3 minutes of it, and then did this thing where he's saying, you know, like competitiveness has really dropped over the last 10 years. And it's like, oh, darn, when you put a time frame on it like that and you make it hyper partisan, you just blew your entire argument, right? For me, because we've been talking about productivity and competitiveness as being an issue in Canada for decades. We are a nation whose leaders have been very satisfied for easily satisfied for way too long with us just being drawers of water and hewers of wood. Right? So to say that our competitiveness issue only started 10 years ago is just not serious. And then that just screams, okay, completely in the bag for the Conservatives, and not, I can't now trust what you've said before as being accurate or as being objective information, rather than information that is tinted or skewed in order to have an anti-liberal position. Had he avoided that, everything that he said seemed to be some valid points for people who would be defending the other side or promoting the other side. But as soon as he said that, it's like, oh, okay, now I have to look at all those other comments in another light. Is it tinted hyperpartisanship, or are these actually actual data? However, major projects office, that's taken place. Then Build Canada Homes was announced, right, for the big housing strategy. And that is underway. And there's been some first announcement of some initial projects, $13 billion of funding towards that the Conservatives are dismissing. Oh my God, you're going to build 4,000 houses for $13 billion. That's so much money per house. Just let the private business doing it. And of course, that's not what it's about. It's not. Nobody's going to pay $13 billion for just 4,000 houses, especially not a central banker who understands numbers. So there's clearly more to it than that. So again, typical conservative over-reductionism. And the third pillar of the strategy, of course, as you know, is Mark Carney going around the world and making sure that we are going to have a huge defense manufacturing sector, because we are looking to spend less of the military procurement money that we have in the United States, and looking to spend more here in home and making other deals. So we have that big deal with Europe that unlocks access to over $1 trillion of projects, and everything else that goes along with that. We also have Germany and South Korea looking at us as potential suppliers for submarines. And there may be some opportunity to have our steel and aluminum being used there. There's also looking at the F-35s, or the fighter jets, that we do have a certain number of them coming from our deal with the United States, but whether or not we want to have the rest of the fleet coming from there, or whether or not we want to get them from Saab, get the Gripen or Gripen from Sweden, and which would it seems that the discussions are going on there is that if we did that, a lot of the building of those would be happening in Canada, and again, probably using some Canadian source materials. But in Canada, one of the problems that we have had for quite a significant amount of time has to do with the procurement, particularly when it comes to defense. It seems to just take too damn long, and creating a situation often that people are talking about that once we finally do get the equipment, um, the situation on the battlefield or advances in technology or in military strategy have changed so much that these big purchases that take so long are not necessarily um, as relevant as they could have been had we been able to get them a little more quickly. Uh, Another thing that is going on as well because of the success of things such as drones. Um, if you're going to get a big piece of equipment, you're probably going to need something else that ensures that those big pieces of equipment are well surrounded, well protected. And so drone technology can be used to help with that. So according to the Canadian press, uh, it seems that the third pillar of these coordinating agencies has now been announced. So we have the major projects building offices, we have the Build Canada Homes, and here we will have something coordinating agency for defense procurement. And hopefully, once all of these are up and running efficiently and up to speed, we are going to see all these elements of these plans start coming together in a more coordinated fashion. It seems that the Prime Minister does seem to have a penchant or a like for organizing things in clear units so that there are clear lines of accountability. This could be a plus in the sense that if grabbing various resources from various departments and putting them together in one coordinating function can make things happen more rapidly and give that clear line of accountability, that would definitely be a very, very good thing. The downside, of course, is when you have such clear lines of accountability, and if it still doesn't get done, there's increasing demand and pressure coming from the outside for heads to roll or for restructuring or just for dismantling. So it's a big gamble to create these agencies because if it goes well, you get all the flowers, but if it doesn't go very well, you've just created three big targets for some relentless axe the tax type campaigns. But according to Canadian press, Ottawa is launching a new federal procurement agency designed to overhaul and centralize military equipment purchasing. Secretary of State for Defense Procurement, Stephen Fuhr, who will oversee the new Defense Investment Agency, so the DIA, told Canadian press the agency will deliver equipment to the Canadian Armed Forces at a faster pace that meets its needs. Quote, we cannot be trapped outside the technology cycle with procurement. If we deliver stuff late, then it's irrelevant and we don't want to be there, he said. Quote, so we are going to move at the speed of relevance to meet the moment. So if you're looking for a tagline here or sloganish or something to brand this, it's moving at the speed of relevance. That's the objective here. Fuhr insists the new agency will not amount to another layer of bureaucracy that could further slow the process. Quote, we're not adding anything, we're actually consolidating things into one spot, he said. Fragmented oversight goes away because now you have one-stop shopping. Duplication of effort is curtailed because, again, everyone's working in one location, not spread out all over Ottawa. Fuhr also said the new agency will deal with all purchases above $100 million and will have the authority to enter into contracts without being bogged down by a complex approvals process. Not quite sure what that means. That's a little thin. How is the approvals process complex, and how do we decomplexify it while still maintaining the integrity of the system and ensuring that that it is proofed for any types of bad things that could happen becomes a question here, particularly when we're talking about military procurement, where there's lots and 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 lots of money involved. So we don't want to cut those protections and that oversight too much. But yes, clearly what we are doing right now is not working. And it does need to be simplified. But devil's in the details on that one when we're saying without being bogged down by a complex approvals process, because we still need an approvals process that is robust. Quote, "We don't have to go to the Treasury Board a million times. We can just do it," he said. The Liberal government is appointing former Royal Bank of Canada executive and former Goldman Sachs manager Doug Guzman as the CEO of the new agency, which will be housed within Public Services and Procurement Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney campaigned in the spring election on a promise to reform the defence procurement by streamlining the system to cut down on lengthy delays. The Liberals had committed to setting up a new defence procurement agency in 2019, but abandoned those plans as a priority when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Canada has promised its NATO allies that it will spend the equivalent of 2% of its GDP on national defence every year, spending levels not seen since the Cold War. The government is also expected to produce a new defense industrial policy in the coming months, and more to come. That's what we have at the moment with regard to that. Now, there were some announcements yesterday made specifically. I have not had time to watch them, so I can't tell you specifically what was said in them and if there are any particularly interesting answers to questions that came from the media on that one, but I will definitely be following that and bringing that to you in future shows. So there you go, kits and cubs. That's basically all I have at the moment for defense. Coming from the Canadian press, I had been looking at other sources and wasn't finding too much more that was interesting. On that. I think because it's a new agency, and like I said, you're announcing the person who's going to lead it, where it is going to fit into the organizational chart, and what the overall mandate of it is. Given that we're at that stage, there's probably isn't that many more salient or interesting elements that would warrant further discussion or debate at this time. But as the blanks in the story start to get filled in and we find out a little bit more, then hopefully that will be this is an agency that is going to get a lot of attention. So there's my words are, I can't find my words this morning. I'm so sorry, kids and cubs. It's an agency that is going to get a lot of attention, so we're going to hear a lot more about how it develops. It's going to be really up front and center. I did find something else that has more information here, or at least some more quotes that could be of interest here. It's also from the Canadian press, but a less edited down version of the article than the one that I read you. So this one here is appearing in CTV. It has a little more to it here. So it says here in this article, for example, some of the stuff that I mentioned here, when Mr. Fuhrer was talking about moving at the speed of relevance. It says, Canada's system of defense procurement is notoriously complex and slow. It is spread out across multiple departments, a product of the peacetime focus on political risk avoidance and budget management. The federal government's search for a new fixed-wing search and rescue aircraft, for example, started more than a decade ago. Ottawa awarded a contract for the high-priority procurement of a fleet of CC-295 Kingfisher aircraft in 2016. The first aircraft rolled off the line in 2019, but they only entered into service this year. That's a long time. The Liberal government is appointing someone from outside the defense industry to run the office, which will be housed within the Public Service and Procurement Canada, as we mentioned, and that is Mr. Guzman. But Fuhr will ultimately oversee the office and be politically accountable for it. Fuhr, who was I mentioned earlier, is the Secretary of State for Defense Procurement, is a former CF-18 fighter pilot, and he said the new agency will centralize the process for all purchases above $100 million. He said the office, in addition to be able to enter into contracts without being bogged down by complex approval process, will also use the risk-based contracting approach the government adopted during the pandemic. Quote, for low, medium, and high-risk projects, we have the authority to enter into the contract. We don't have to go to the Treasury Board a million times. We can just do it. So a little more added to the quote about simplifying the approvals process that I was asking about, the devil in the details there. The defense industry, meanwhile, is waiting to learn how all this will work in practice. Christian Cianfarani, the president of the Canadian Association of Defense and Security Industries, says it's not clear what kind of targets Ottawa will set as it looks to buy more Canadian defense products, or how the new office will function within the existing procurement system. Quote, we would expect to see clear measurement targets for the growth of the industry, Cianfarani said. We would expect to see something like goals for the number of steps that would be reduced in the procurement process so that we can make a connection between this agency and this ambition of the Prime Minister, which is effectively an ambition for growing the economy. Prime Minister Mark Carney campaigned in the spring election on a promise to reform defense procurement, ramp up defense spending, and implement Buy Canadian policies. At an announcement in June, Carney said he understands that procurement funding often goes unspent by the Department of National Defense and lapses, resulting in the military running short on the equipment it needs for deployments. He also said it's, quote, very hard for the military and defense department to plan beyond the short term. Quote, they need to be able to do that, Carney said at the time. Cianfarani said that if Carney wants a procurement system that's focused on buying Canadian, the process for acquiring domestic military hardware should involve as few steps as possible. Quote, we should be biasing the procurement system in every way to make those kind of purchases happen as fast as possible, she said. When the office is not going to buy Canadian, she said, it should be clear with contractors about how it expects them to incorporate Canadian businesses in their supply chains. And then, of course, as we mentioned, the Liberals had originally committed to standing up the new Defense Procurement Agency in 2019. So this is an idea that has been several years in the making, of course, as we mentioned, disrupted by COVID. And then I guess other things going on post-COVID that the government didn't get back to it at the time, but is now. So there we go. 3 major agencies. They are set up. Of course, not all fully staffed yet, but that's coming. And so within, I'm going to guess, maybe a few months or whatnot, maybe, I'm not sure how long it will take them to get online. Usually it takes a long time for an agency to get online, but Carney seems to like to move fast and expects people to be efficient. So I'm not sure that he is particularly keen on giving these agencies a full year or a year and a half to fully set up. I think he's going to want some results a little more quickly than that, mainly because the opposition, because it doesn't really have much to argue when it comes to these things. About the only thing that they can say is not fast enough, not fast enough, needs to be faster. Scream if you want to go faster. And that's about the only criticism. And if Mark Carney wants to respond to that criticism, then it has things, for example, like laddering projects, so that he can say, hey, we just announced them and already there's a shovel in the ground on this one, is one of the ways to do that. Of course, it has, some people trying to mock him saying, no, you just took things that were already ready, but they still needed to push. These projects are not complete and the shovels are not in the ground. So Pierre is in a bit of a weird situation where he's saying not fast enough, but then when he criticizes putting projects that are close to being shovel-ready on the list, it's like, what, do you want only projects that have freshly popped into people's minds just now and there's no preparatory work done whatsoever, but still expect them to have a shovel in the ground in 3 months? That's with Pierre, you always have to look at what's the alternative. If this is bad, then what's the alternative? It's like, I'm not sure how you get shovels in the ground for a pipeline that doesn't even have a route yet, nor a proponent in 3 months, right? But if there is about to be activity, if a port wants to expand, for example, the Contrecoeur port, Montreal port, the Contrecoeur region wants to expand, but there's an environmental issue there. There's a specific either species of fish or something there that could be affected by the expansion of the port. And that's the number one, that seems to be the big hurdle there. So trying to find a way to deal with that issue specifically in a manner that is rapid enough, but still hopefully thorough, to allow that project to go ahead. If that's all that is needed and there is a solution at hand, then why not focus everybody's attention on making that happen as soon as possible so we can get on with it, right? Rather than having, again, not saying not doing the study, but in a more focused manner with maybe probably more people around the table and people ready to take the results of that study as soon as they come in and act on it, rather than having it on a shelf for 2-3 months or sending it to a couple of other places first and all that kind of stuff. There's got to be some faster ways. So given that Pierre always seems to say faster, if there are some ways that Mark Carney can have news cycling over and over and over again, sort of flooding the zone with projects that are that are happening, and at various stages are making the progress, notable progress, significant progress, that sort of quells the faster, because at some point people are going to go, well, gee, how much faster do you want it? It's not like we got a replicator or something, right? To just say it and it just pops up Star Trek style. There you go. So, and Mark Carney seems to be having this sort of overall strategy of like taking what Pierre's complaint is and then sort of addressing it in a manner that is actually professional rather than what Pierre would do, thus trying to take the issue away from Pierre. So, for example, the immigration thing, that's probably more Justin Trudeau because he's the one that brought in the caps. But, while he's going around saying, we need to reduce immigration, we need to have it in negative immigration. So, well, we're actually at flat immigration or slightly down already. So I'm not sure how much more you want us to do, buddy. But yeah, keep on going to the microphone and scream, we need to do what is already being done or already has been done. Pierre is not left with much. And this seems to be a concerted strategy here by Mark Carney. So there's been suggestions, for example, like for the high-speed rail, even though the plan is to reduce the time that the first shovel is going to be in the ground from 8 years to 4 years. There have been some suggestions, if you wanted to do just the Montreal-Ottawa portion of it to start, right, rather than start at Quebec City or start at Toronto and work your way. But if you're taking of all the cities that are on the line, the two that have the shortest distance, and say we're going to start the project there, could you get a shovel on the ground in 2.5 years instead of 4? So that, again, you can see the activity happening. So there might be a lot of different ways to sort of reorient these projects or redesign these projects in that sense to get certain components of them that might be more helpful or that could see a more immediate, more nearer term impact done first to have stuff to point to basically make Pierre look foolish or shut him up, or force him to have to find another line of argumentation, take that one away from him as well. So we will see if all of these things will coordinate. But I'm going to guess that the normal lead-up time to set up these types of agencies and organizations will be shortened by design in order to get some quick activity and things that we can point to more quickly, because Mark Carney is going to need that if Pierre is going to keep on banging the drum of not fast enough. All right. Let's see, what else do we have for you today, kits and cubs, in the news? There is, oh my God, let's take a look. Oh, that's Okay, didn't expect to see that. Sorry. Yes. Unfortunately, it's not political news worthy, so can't really mention it here. Um, okay. Yes. I can't show you clips, unfortunately, which kind of makes it a little more difficult to show. There was a nice moment in question period yesterday where Pierre was making some comments about the economy, and the Prime Minister got up and says, I guess it's time to give the leader a lesson in economics. But the look on his face when he stood up was clearly indicating that he was very not impressed with how Short Pants has been conducting himself, and that if ever he had been a personal employee of the Prime Minister, he probably would have been fired eons ago for being just a dumbass. You could see it in the face. But unfortunately, can't show it to you. We also have Nahid Nenshi, who has come up swinging against the Premier of Alberta with a video that criticizing her, but in a very smart and effective way. I'm going to quote him here. It says, we've just received some devastating news. Imperial Oil is cutting its workforce in Canada by 20%, and all but closing its Calgary headquarters, its Canadian headquarters. This is the first time I can remember that Calgary has lost a head office, rather than what we did for so many years, which is attract investment and head offices to Calgary. Hundreds of families are going to be really dislocated by this and go through a lot of pain. But it also highlights the fact that here in Alberta, we lost the Alberta advantage. Instead of creating a stable business environment, which is a critical part of the Alberta advantage, Danielle Smith flirts with separatism. She plays ideological games, and as a result, no one wants to invest in Alberta. We now have the second highest unemployment in Canada after Newfoundland, and it doesn't seem that this government has any plan for economic growth, for attracting investment, for supporting job creators. It's what we need. It's what we always had, and we need to be able to rebuild the Alberta advantage. So Nahid Nenshi nailing her specifically where it hurts, and saying a lot of the things that we have been saying on the show, and starting to make the link that her push for separatism is driving away investment, that Alberta has the lowest funding per student per education, this when it has had a reputation for having one of the best education systems in the world, is not attracting business. What kind of headquarters would want to establish there if the workers that would come can't get good education for their kids? Same thing with healthcare, right? The lowest minimum wage in the country. Danielle Smith had been asked recently, the high student unemployment as well, I believe, had been asked about raising wages, and said like something, oh, I don't want to put any barriers in the way of companies hiring young Canadians. So what you're saying is that you want to keep salaries as low as possible so that companies would hire more young Canadians, and therefore you must believe that young Canadians deserve the lowest salaries that you can legally get away with. Yeah, that doesn't say much about you liking kids. Again, conservatives hate your kids, man. It's these are all things that are not helping the Alberta advantage, so that Nenshi is directly hitting Danielle Smith, saying that she has squandered. He didn't literally say the words Danielle Smith has squandered the Alberta advantage, but that's literally what he needs to be saying, and that's where that video is going. Very little of it remains, if any, at the moment. And yeah, Nenshi hitting her very, very, very hard, that would be an effective line of communication, particularly if there are more and more job losses in the oil and gas industry, and she is really not able to find a proponent. And I doubt very much that a pipeline is going to be on the list in November. That's just her setting the table for her next uh, uh, few months of fundraising and nailing herself to a cross. How Ottawa and Canada hates Alberta and all that kind of stuff. I can't believe he didn't put a pipeline on. It's like, we need a pipeline. That's the only way. It's like, no, it's not the only way. And if you were a little more creative and were actually participating in the process, you would have more than oil to offer. I mean, Danielle Smith is a really interesting character because she's basically telling the entire world in Canada that Alberta can do nothing other than oil. Nothing else. Don't come to Alberta for anything else but oil. We don't have it. It's just oil. That's all we have, which is not true. And so I don't see how this is doing any service whatsoever to Albertans, what it is that she is doing here with this. We have lots of calls again from different people from conservative circles about moving on bail reform. The federal government has to move pronto on this bail reform stuff. So many people I speak to are so beyond ticked about this issue, as am I. I can't believe it's taking this long. Mayor of Guelph, Cam Guthrie, but we're also seeing that certain provincials, from provincial representatives, and okay, there is something for the federal government to do, but the lingering question remains: where are all the people? Where will the people to whom so many want us to deny bail be housed if they are denied bail, given that provincial premiers just do not want to do their part when it comes to ensuring there is capacity? The federal government can only do so much here. Both federal and provincial governments have to be working hand in hand. So if you want this jail not bail thing so damn badly, if you want mandatory minimums so damn badly, which are unconstitutional in state, but let's say you want them, if you want 3 strikes and you're outlaw, where we keep people in jail forever or for a minimum of 10 years after like this, you have to have a place to house them humanely. You need that. And if you're not prepared to do that, then why are we having the other conversation? It's literally just a waste of time. So, but yes, a lot of that going on, people being critical without wanting to look at the full picture, all in a rush, of course, to blame the federal government and for somehow just absolving the provincial governments of any responsibility that they have to do their part, or any responsibility for the part that they have played in creating this situation, which is pretty sad, unfortunately. I wish that there were more active response. Again, this is a media issue of people pointing out, and Mr. Grizzly would love this, of course, right? Where the responsibilities for things lie when it comes to civics. And but I wish that they would just point out, turn around and says, okay, that's fine like this, but what are you doing to make sure that the jail space is there? Like just, and every time they would try to turn it, but the federal government, yeah, I know you want to blame the federal government like this, but right now we're talking about you. What can you do to help like this? So let's focus on you. I would like to see a little bit more of that type of redirecting the question that's trying to be framed in order to blame someone else or another level of government, brought back by journalists to say, okay, yes, but I'm talking to you and you're with this level of government, so let's talk about what you can do, not what the others are not doing. Right. The other thing that is going on here in Alberta, according to Sean Amato here, thousands of Alberta healthcare workers took to the streets Thursday, adding to growing labor unrest in the province. Some workers and critics and academics agree that a feeling of government disrespect is a common factor. as we mentioned earlier on the show, governments, particularly conservative ones and conservative parties, trying to get close to workers in certain sectors, but not professionals, and definitely not public servants. Kind of wondering whether or not we might be moving to a potential of a general strike in Alberta. Um, Personally, I think that that might be a good idea, because Danielle Smith seems to not want to recognize reality and thinks that she can just bulldoze over everyone. And maybe what is required in Alberta is a general strike to flood her zone with so many HR problems that she can't just go to the mic and say, "Well, look," and make it go away. Um, sh Public servants might need to overwhelm her in order to get some real action there. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening there. But I'm sure that a teacher strike and a hospital worker strike or nurses strike all at the same time probably would not be something that would um, be good for Alberta's Danielle Smith's attempt to draw a proponent very quickly for a pipeline project. Another Danielle Smith thing, again, wish I could show you the clip, but she was really weirdly talking about some stuff about the pipeline when responding to David Eby's comments. This was a weird statement. She said in response to a question, "Well, I would say this." Hold on. Sorry. Just don't want to hear you have any sound. We'll say this. If we had been able to redraw the map at the founding of Alberta, maybe we would have had drawn it with a little bit of BC so that we had a port. Maybe Port-au-Prince Rupert would have been part of Alberta as opposed to be a part of British Columbia. We didn't have that luxury, and instead, anyway, right? She just goes on. This type of statement from her is really, really dumb, because number one, it's what, something if buts candies nuts, right? But number two, BC was a province before Alberta was. So even if Danny, in this whatever it is that she's doing in her head scenario, had a time machine where she could go back to 1905 and redraw the map of Alberta so that there would be an arm of it that would go into BC and go to the coast. BC already existed. So I'm not sure how you would go into the territory of another province and say, yeah, this strip is ours. And Indigenous people were still there at that time, and it was still unceded land at that time. It's just so dumb. And she should have been called out on how dumb it is, because it is totally unserious commentary that advances absolutely nothing. Oh, well, if 120 years ago the map of Alberta could have been drawn, giving us access to BC, things like that. Yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Not only wasn't, it couldn't have been either. It's not like even if you went back to that time, that would have even had been possible then. It's even less possible now. Why are you talking about it? Why are you talking about it? It's just running your mouth and wasting time, and you look dumb. It's just, that little factoid alone, that BC had joined Confederation 34 years before Alberta was carved out. She is not a serious person. Oh my God. Just, that woman. I tell you. Ugh. All right, kits and cubs. What else do we have for you before we go today? Oh, yes. Little interesting news, international news. Uh, for the first time ever, the Archbishop of Canterbury is a woman. Heard that on the news before joining today. Dame Sarah Mullally has been named as the new Archbishop of Canterbury designate, the first woman to be chosen for the role. Former NHS chief nurse, the 63-year-old became a priest in 2006 and was appointed as the first female Bishop of London in 2018, the third most senior member of clergy in the Church of England. It's the first time in nearly 500 years of history that the Church has nominated a woman to lead it. The Church has been without someone in the top job for almost a year after Justin Welby resigned over a safeguarding scandal. He stepped down after a damning report into a prolific child abuser associated with the Church. It found that he could and should have reported John Smythe's abuse of boys and young men to police in 2013. Archbishop of York Stephen Cottrell took on most of Mr. Welby's responsibilities in an interim move and was one of the voting members of the body charged with choosing his successor. He himself has faced calls to step down over his handling of an abuse case. Women were first ordained priests in the church in 1994, while the first female bishop appointments followed 20 years later in 2014. In line with tradition, the process of choosing a new archbishop involves a name being given to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and then passed to the monarch. While technically the king is head of the Church of England, the person holding the role of Archbishop of Canterbury is the most senior bishop and is the spiritual leader of the church and the worldwide Anglican Communion. Dame Sarah does not legally take on her new role until a confirmation of election in January, and an enthronement service comes later after they have paid homage to the king. She spent over 35 years in the NHS, becoming the youngest ever chief nursing officer for England in 1999. She left her government post in 2004, taking up a full-time ministry in the London borough of Sutton. In 2012, she became canon treasurer at the Salisbury Cathedral before becoming Bishop of Crediton in the Diocese of Exeter in 2015. She married Eamon Mullally in 1987. The couple have a daughter and a son. Rowan Williams, a former archbishop, summarized her new role as requiring a newspaper in one hand and the Bible in the other. Dr. Williams told the BBC the expectation of having an opinion on everything is quite heavy. So there you go. Worldwide history being made here. And so this is in this world, this is a seismic shift. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses. Again, lots of interesting news coming around these days, kits and cubs. Let's see, what else do we have here in the grad bag for you before we sign off for the day. Just making sure that I get everything for you today. So because we are going into the weekend, we might have a bonus beaver tonight. Mr. Grizzly is not available. I do have a date night planned with my beaver sweetie. So we're going to go see the Downton Abbey movie around 6:30. So if I do a bonus beaver tonight, it'll be a little later for those of us in the Eastern time zone, maybe 9:30ish, but definitely at a better time for some kits and cubs out west to be able to join us. So not completely guaranteed yet, kits and cubs, but there is a possibility of a bonus beaver tonight. So keep with our socials, and if there is anything, we will do that for you, because it's always good to spend some extra time with the DAMFAM when we can. All right. And yep, the only other thing I have here, kits and cubs, is that there's an MP that says that all of Canada should end the practice of changing the clocks twice a year, and is planning to introduce legislation she hopes will ensure the custom is lost to time. Canadians, quote, Canadians will often engage in conversation and debates about why it is we change our clocks back and forward, Ottawa Liberal MP Marie-France Lalonde said Thursday during a news conference on Parliament Hill. Today, I'm here to say the time has come to address this time change. According to Darren Major of CBC News, she says here, according to CBC News, it says a majority of jurisdictions, I thought this was a quote from her, but it is not, observe the time change, pushing the clocks forward an hour in the spring, only to wind them back an hour in the fall. Lalonde said she is planning to introduce a private member's bill that wouldn't explicitly eliminate the time change, but calls on the federal government to organize a conference with various stakeholders to formalize and establish a set clock that would hold year-round. Saskatchewan, Yukon, and parts of BC and Nunavut do not observe the practice, with Yukon having only just made the permanent switch to daylight savings time in 2020. Other provinces have mulled the idea of getting rid of the time change, but seem reluctant to make the move on their own. Atlantic premiers mused publicly about adopting permanent daylight time in 2022, but said they would not pursue it unless others take the lead. BC, Manitoba, and Ontario have all tied their time change policy to certain U.S. states. Quebec and the Northwest Territories have both held public consultations on the possibility of eliminating time changes, but neither have made an official decision. Meanwhile, Alberta held a referendum in 2021 on whether to continue changing clocks twice a year. Albertans voted 50.2% in favor of continuing the practice. Lalonde suggested her initiative would bring the country together to collectively decide on how to proceed. Quote, let's stop speaking individually and start speaking collectively, she said. Quote, I'm doing this because I think that provincial governments and territories have had these conversations. Now let's bring everybody together. Some experts argue that there are several consequences from forcing people to shift their clocks twice a year. Research suggests that health problems such as strokes and heart attacks are more likely to occur in the first few days following a time change. Car accidents are also more likely to occur, according to some experts. On the other hand, ending the change would have some negative impacts depending on what is permanently standardized. Most provinces mulling a single year-round time change have chosen to adopt permanent daylight time, which is typically observed during the spring and summer months. But sleep experts say that could greatly impact sleep patterns, specifically in the winter when the sun would rise later. So there you go. That is in the works. And as well, it seems that work for the expansion of the port in Port of Montreal and Contrecoeur is preparatory for work is expected to happen this fall, according to people associated with the project, according to the Canadian press. The Montreal Port Authority says it intends to begin preparatory work this fall on its planned expansion in the nearby town of Contrecoeur, Quebec. The project still requires authorization from Fisheries and Oceans Canada because it will be built in the habitat of the endangered copper red horsefish. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. Prime Minister Mark Carney included the port expansion in his government's list of 5 nation-building projects to be fast-tracked under new legislation. The port wants to increase its capacity by expanding the Contrecoeur terminal to eventually handle an estimated 1.5 million containers annually. Port authorities say the preparatory work would begin in the coming weeks and includes installing fences and access roads, constructing work platforms, selective tree cutting, and outfitting offices. I think I heard somewhere that 3,000 trees would have to be cut in order to build the expansion. The preparatory work also involves dredging the bottom of the St. Lawrence River, habitat of the copper red horse, found only in a limited section of the St. Lawrence River and a few tributaries, such as the Richelieu River. A plan to mitigate the expansion's effect on the red horse habitat requires approval from Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and port authorities are hopeful it could come by the end of November. There you go. As we were mentioning, kits and cubs, because democracy is something that you do, right? We talked about the Newfoundland and Labrador election, and we've been mentioning that there's a election in Yukon territory coming as well. Well, as was the case in Newfoundland and Labrador, it seems that the interim premier waited until the last possible day that the election could be called, because the election date had already been chosen, to make the call and to have the writ drawn. And that is indeed taking place here. Meanwhile, it says here, Yukon Premier Mike Pemberton says he will call a territorial election on Friday, and that election will be held on March 3rd. So there you go. Kits and Cubs. Just taking a little look here. This is also from the Canadian Press. Yukon Premier Mike Pemberton says he will call a territorial election on Friday, setting the vote for the last possible day allowed under the territory's fixed election legislation. He told supporters in Carcross, Yukon, the election will be held on November 3rd. Quote, "We're kicking things off in Carcross with heart, humility, and hope," he said on Thursday. Pemberton told the crowd that housing is his party's top priority, while they will also focus on healthcare, affordability, the economy, and First Nations partnerships. Quote, "We're heading into this election at a time when things can feel heavy. People are feeling frustrated, they're divided, and they're tired. But I say don't lose hope. Our democracy is strong, our territory is strong, and together we can be stronger still," he said. The Liberals have been in power since 2016, although Pemberton has only been the party's leader and premier since June, and he doesn't have a seat in the legislature. The Yukon has had 3 premiers since the last election in 2021, starting with Sandy Silver, who announced in 2022 he was stepping down and would not seek re-election. He was followed by Ranj Pillai, who stepped down earlier this year. The party has a minority government with 8 members of the legislature and the support of 3 New Democrats with a confidence and supply agreement. The official opposition Yukon Party also has 8 seats. No sitting Liberal cabinet minister is seeking re-election this year. Speaker Jeremy Harper is the only Liberal hoping to return to the legislature. Voters will choose 21 members of the legislature for the first time, up from the current 19, and 15 of the ridings have new boundaries after a territorial commission recommended changes last year. Pemberton said the election will be about making a difference in people's lives. Quote, "It's about understanding our past and carrying its lessons forward to a stronger and shared future. That's what Yukoners expect. That's what we're here to deliver," he said. Residents will also be asked to vote in a non-binding plebiscite on whether the way members of the legislature are elected should be changed from the current system of first past the post to a ranked vote. The election comes as the cost of living grows in the territory. The NDP has promised to build a universal school nutrition program across the territory if elected, while the opposition Yukon Party has said it would cut a planned 34% increase to Yukon power rates. The Yukon Party ran the government from 2002 to 2016 before losing in an election that saw Silver's Liberals grow from a single seat in the legislature to majority government status. The Yukon Party is led by Curry Dixon, who was first elected in 2011 but did not seek re-election in 2016, choosing instead to manage the party's campaign that year. He returned to politics when he was elected leader in 2020. NDP leader Kate White was first elected in 2011 and has served 3 terms in the legislature. She was named party leader in 2019. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. And of course, please share a little bit of yourself, why it is that you think that our content resonates with you, or what it is that you found in it that really worked for you, because you are influencers in your own circle. Kids and Cubs, if you would like to help us, and I'm going to try and see if I can put those things on the screen, but the camera's on a tripod. I have to press that in the camera, so I'm going to hope to not be gentle enough to allow that to happen. But if you would like us to help you, kids and cubs, because you are on the go, then you need to go to our pod page. That is podpage.com/the-true-north-eager-beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, or you can scan that QR code that has just appeared there. Thank you to the Ray Girl for sponsoring it. And when you go there and click on subscribe, our show comes in video format, but also in audio cast podcast format, ears only. So if you've got things to do and you can't watch the live video show, you can just pop us in your ears and take us with you. So thank you to the Ray Girl for making that happen. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, you can do that by traveling on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. QR code has just appeared there. Kids Cassie and Elaine would definitely approve of you taking a visit there and making us a little happy by clicking on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. I do not know if we have crossed the 27,000 threshold yet, but it was 26,900 when we started the show today. So thank you for your help with that. It really means the world to us that you support our content in that way. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, and we would very much appreciate your help. Oh, and being able to do that. And the QR code that just appeared there will bring you to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can find the Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. See, this time the glass is see-through, so you can see I actually do have water in the glass when I do that. No PP specials here. So there you go. Please drop a couple of coins into our tip jar. When it hits the bottom, it makes a lovely jingling sound, and we are so happy to hear it. And we did receive a tip yesterday. Thank you so much to the person who did that. I want to give thanks for it. I think I'm able to find the reference for that here, because I do not have coffee open at the moment. But if I do remember correctly, there is something that typically comes to the email, which would give me an opportunity to thank that person. But yes, it is. There we go. Thank you to Kit Fran, who sent us a lovely tip on our coffee account yesterday. We very much appreciate your kindness and your generosity. And I know that I believe that Kit Fran did have something to say to us. But unfortunately, where I am right now looking, that greeting does not pop up. So Kit Fran, lucky you, you are going to get 2 shout outs, because we're giving you one today. And then when we do our next show, given that you sent us a kind word, we definitely want to read that into the record as well. So you will get a double shout out. There you go. That's a lot of bang for your buck. So thank you to everyone who has supported us via our coffee page. And of course, we have memberships on our YouTube channel, and we do have the super chat if you are able to help that way. And of course, as well, Kids and Cubs, if you are looking to buy Canadian, you can do a direct bank transfer with our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, and that keeps your transaction entirely Canadian. The Bro Oligarchy in the United States does not get a cut, and we get 100% of your donation, which means it goes further. So thank you for all of your support. Because democracy is something that you do, Kids and Cubs, right? Municipal election, Newfoundland and Labrador in St. John's on the 8th. Get ready to vote there. There's a Liberal leadership race vote in Prince Edward Island going on at the moment. So there's municipal elections, I believe, coming in Alberta. If they haven't happened yet. I'm a little off on my municipal election dates. I don't cover those as much as I should, and to know the dates, unfortunately. But I know that there is a campaign going on. I think the voting date in Alberta wasn't the same as in Newfoundland and Labrador, so that one might still be going on. I will take a little check on that while I'm at it, and therefore make sure that I am not lying to you when I'm saying that. But lots of opportunities, of course, to vote and practice democracy. And of course, as we've just announced, a territorial election coming in Yukon Territory, not yet officially declared, but coming. And the municipal elections in Alberta are October 20th. So still some time left there. So there you go, Kids and Cubs. All these ways that you can do democracy in terms of voting. Also, forever-canadian.ca, still looking for signatures. So go to their website to find out where are the pop-up locations and whether or not you would like to be a canvasser. There's ways to go there. And if you want to donate to the organization, because they too incur some costs in collecting those signatures. So please contribute how you can. And of course, our famous petition, go to ourcommons.ca, petition 6679. Do go there, take a look at that, give it a signature. That is very important as well, so that we can pressure our MPs to bring a little bit more honesty to politics. Okay. Words of wisdom, kits and cubs. I'm going to go with words of wisdom that I may be expressed at the beginning of the show. When things don't work out the way that you had wanted them to or planned to, and you do not know why it is, always first assume the best possible scenario until you know. It saves a lot of rumination. Okay, that's my words of wisdom for the moment. Don't first assume the worst of others in the situations where you do not know and you don't have anything to go on. Because if you have a long track record with someone and you know behavior, well then maybe you can make an educated guess. But yes. Stay on the positive side of things when things don't work out and you don't yet know why, because sometimes there could just be a very good, reasonable reason. Okay. Uh, did I say reasonable reason? Reasonable explanation. Oh my God. Cut me off. Get the hook. Okay. So those are my words of wisdom. Kits and cubs. It can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now for the audience participation portion of the show. Kits and cubs, would you please, at the count of 3, say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. In 1, 2, 3. Let me hear you. Oh, that is the good stuff right there, kits and cubs. How can I deny you? Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kits and cubs, don't really have much for you for the Easter egg, except that the boss here, Alistair McBear, just said, good job. Seems that we are passing our performance review yet again. That's a very, very good thing. Little bit of Canadians who make us proud here. Tennis player Gabriel Diallo won his match at the Shanghai tournament, defeating Bonzi from France in straight sets. So a good start for him. Well, I'm not sure if it's a start for him at this tournament, but a good performance here. Bianca Andreescu is back on the courts in Wuhan, China, in the qualification round there. Hopefully, her recovery is going better. She had played a couple of weeks ago, I think, or last week, and almost was able to take the second set in a tiebreak after getting a slow start. So hopefully with a little more practice, she is definitely on her way back to form. Felix Auger-Aliassime teamed up with doubles legend, well, not legend, I would say, but very, very, very renowned Dutch player, Robin Haase, but unfortunately lost their doubles match in Shanghai. And Gabriel Diallo, also unfortunately playing with Nakashima from the United States, lost his doubles match as well. So there you go. And of course, kits and cubs, Blue Jays, tomorrow, tune in. It's time to cheer. All right. And like magic, kits and cubs, I am gone.